There's this part in Dragon Ball Super's Tournament of Power that I really like. It happens right as Goku and Jiren are starting their final battle and trying to figure each other out. It goes a little something like this.
What drives your endless quest for strength?
Honestly, I can't explain it.
I seek to achieve something beyond strength, simpleton.
Well, duh, that's what I've been saying.
This scene speaks to why Goku has been such an endearing character for so long. He's more than capable of enjoying his downtime, but he's never really satisfied unless he's finding a way to improve his skills and test them on increasingly strong opponents. This created an easy avenue for Toyotaro and the late great Akira Toriyama to keep the series going for as long as it has. This all contrasts with Gohan, my favorite Dragon Ball character for the record. Gohan is the only Z fighter not obsessed with combat. Yeah, he's crazy strong, brimming with even more potential than his father, and can easily reach new heights when he needs to, but he'd much rather read, study, spend time with his family, and protect his home from minor threats as the Great Saiyaman. In other words, Gohan has found that which lies beyond strength. Gohan, more than any other Z fighter, has found that which lies beyond Journey's End. Frieren Beyond Journey's End is one of the best shows to come out in the past 10 years. Studio Madhouse went all out making this one of the best looking shows out there with breathtaking animation, solid direction, a stellar cast, and a killer soundtrack, all in service to a cozy slice of life fantasy adventure. I always loved these pure adventure stories. They speak to me on a personal level because of my own desire and inability to have very many adventures of my own. What makes Frieren stand out above other equally cozy adventures is the way it weaves the slice of life storytelling into the central themes and character dynamics of the show. Specifically, the complex relationship between Frieren, Flom, Himmel, Fern, and Circe. Frieren is an elf in the classic Tolkien sense. She's at least 1,000 years old by the time we meet her, but she hasn't really aged at all across the various flashbacks we are privy to. Elves just stop aging after a bit, live lives that are close to eternity, have no reproductive instincts, and all that leads to a warped perception of time that is borderline incomprehensible to humans. Flom is a human mage who taught Frieren how to better control her power to fool demons and make them underestimate her. Flom went on to usher in an era where humans can pursue magic freely. Frieren spent 50 years with her, which may or may not have been a significant portion of her life. Again, we don't know how old Frieren was when all this happened. What we do know is that after Flom died, Frieren spent another 900 years training in relative isolation, never building any kind of relationship with anyone. That's until Himmel showed up. She was the last person to join Himmel's party. They spent a measly 10 years together, which is not even all that long by human standards. They're just some people she traveled with on the way to kill the Demon King. They were only together for 1/100th of her lifetime, barely even 1/5 of the time she spent with Flom. There's no way they could have had such a profound impact on her, right? Right? 50 years go by and she goes on one last trip with the hero's party to watch Meteor Shower. Shortly after that, Himmel the hero dies. Frieren tries to keep it together, tries to keep a cool head, tries to stay rational, but she can't. She's full of regret. She didn't try to spend more time with him, didn't try to get to know him better, but it's heavily implied through all the other flashbacks that she did know him a lot better than she thinks she did. 20 years later, she checks in on Heiter, the party's priest, and sees that he's taken in a young girl named Fern. Frieren helps train Fern and sticks around until Heiter's death. Fern is a no-nonsense human mage with a love of magic that reminds Frieren of Flom. Frieren even uses her as a prime example of why human mages are so formidable, calling her proof that what Circe predicted following Flom's death had come to pass.
A mere 1,000 years. That is when the era of humans will arrive.
The era of humans has arrived.
We see this best illustrated with the introduction of Zoltrak, a demon spell that in the days of the Demon King was an unstoppable killing spell that even Frieren struggled against. Frieren helped lead humanity into understanding Zoltrak, but even so, it isn't a natural skill for her. It takes time for her to fire it off, and she has a bad habit of lowering her guard when she does. But Zoltrak is a spell that's been available to humans since before Fern was born. She's lived her whole life knowing it. It was one of the first spells she learned. It's second nature to her, meaning she can fire it off repeatedly as easily as she can breathe, which is why, despite being significantly weaker than Frieren, she's able to end fights quicker than her mentor. Fern also happens to be the only character who truly sees through Siray's facade. So now I can finally get to what this video is really about. Siray is an elf who is much older than Frieren. Probably twice as old, but we're never given ages, so that's all speculation. She trained Flom, has personal issues with Frieren, tries to make Fern her new protege, and is the biggest lying tsundere I have ever seen. Every word from Siray's mouth is a front. She is way more like Frieren than she cares to admit, which goes back to this theme that Frieren introduced of being adverse to her own kind. They're both elves, and so they're able to understand each other in a way that no human ever could. Siray refers to Flom as some girl she trained on a whim, and does so with the same exact energy as Frieren calling Himmel some boy she went on a short trip with. She says the act of constantly suppressing mana is pointless, but not only does she do it, she's probably the one who taught that technique to Flom. She calls all her human students disappointments, yet clearly loves and remembers each one of their personalities and favorite spells. She calls Flom and Frieren's favorite spell, a spell to conjure a field of flowers, pointless, but she decorates her chamber using that exact spell. She laments at how no human has ever surpassed her, yet warns Frieren that if she dies in battle, it'll most likely be at the hands of a human mage. She tears up Flom's final request to shepherd the new era of humans, yet that's exactly what she ends up doing after the death of the Demon King. What really irks Siray, and what is most likely the reason she doesn't get along with Frieren, is that Frieren is a constant reminder of Flom. This human girl she trained on a whim and yet had such a profound impact on her. Even worse, she's a constant reminder of how intuitive and wise Flom was. Magic in Frieren is all about visualization. If you can't picture yourself doing something, there's no way you can do it. That's why Siray proctors the final part of the mage exam using her intuition. The way people react to her and her overwhelming mana dictates whether they pass or fail. She fails Frieren for pretty petty reasons. The two have history, and Frieren feels like she hasn't become the mage Siray wants her to be. It actually makes sense when you think about it. Frieren is completely reliant on her firepower. Siray even says that she's relatively unskilled for a mage her age. Between that and their conflicting personalities, Frieren can't visualize a scenario where Siray ever accepts her. And yet, it was Frieren, not Siray, who destroyed the Demon King.
I find it incredibly hard to believe that a mage like you defeated the Demon King.
That is why you fail.
She didn't do it alone. Hyter, Himmel, and Aizen were every bit as important in that fight as her. And it was the silly little spell to conjure flowers that brought the four of them together. Siray is a bit of a warmonger. She could never visualize a world without the Demon King. She could never be comfortable in a time of peace. Flom knew this and even said it to Siray's face the last time they spoke. Flom also predicted that one day Frieren would regret not getting to know someone, and so she left a book lighting a path to a place called Heaven, which just so happens to be right on the other side of the Demon King's castle, as if Flom knew that all this would happen and that Frieren would have a desire to retrace the steps she took to slay the Demon King, and realize just how well she truly understood her old party, all without even trying. Makes you wonder if once upon a time she went on a similar journey with Siray when the older elf was experiencing her first brush with. But this is what makes Frieren, what makes Himmel and so many other heroes compelling. A hero shouldn't be a plot point. They shouldn't be a slave to the author's desire to pile on plot twists. A hero shouldn't be someone who exists only to stop the bad guy. A hero should be strong. A hero should be compassionate. A hero should save people. A hero must seek that which lies beyond strength. A hero must seek that which lies after conflict. A hero must seek that which lies beyond the journey's end. Because these relationships, these acts of generosity and the effect they have on people, these moments where we're able to relax after a hard day's work and enjoy festivities with our friends and loved ones, that is what makes it all worth it. I'm Mediocrity4, thanks for watching.